Hello and welcome to the Division 1 race for the second round of the Hungarian Grand Prix here at the Hungaroring in Budapest. It is a very technical track. We're looking at around sort of 15 corners here, very high sort of speed corners, 2 DRS zones, one going down to the first corner and from turn 1 to turn 2. It is a very high downforce track and I'm sure overtaking will be difficult. But today with me I do have Jacob Wiecenski and my name is Aaron Hill. So Jacob, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good there, Aaron. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. As we are looking now to get into the first sort of qualifying session here. It is raining, so we do have some weather to contend with here. So we'll be very interesting to see what we can do here. Going into this sort of session, Jacob, who would be your sort of pick for pole here today?
I'll have to give it mostly to the Alpines. They've been fast. They were fast last week, and
Mhm.
I'm hoping they're fast again here this week. But again, as we see, we have the rain in effect for tonight's race.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming into the session, like you say, the rain is likely to really shake things up. It is going to be very interesting to see how people do deal with this. I mean, it looks like at the moment it is going to be intermediate tyres here for every driver. First driver out at the moment is Victor Diaz in the AlphaTauri there. So it should be interesting to see how he does get along as drivers are starting to make their way out. In terms of for the wet qualifying session here, Jacob, I mean, is there any sort of any key corners you think that these drivers must be a little bit more careful in the wet, or?
Definitely turns 4 and definitely turn 11.
Yeah.
You can easily, coming into that right-hander, you can easily just spin the tires here in the wet, and along with that left-hander into the right-hander on 11. And we're watching for very good track limits, and track limits is going to be key here off of turn 11 as well.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of for this event, as I say, we are following via the FIA's track limit rules, so we'll be watching heavily for drivers potentially looking to try and extend through turn 4 and 11. It is being cracked down upon, so hopefully we should see some very clean racing here. But as we're starting to get underway here, so we're going to follow on board here with Victor for his first qualifying lap. So we'll ride on board here as we go down into turn 1. It is a sort of heavy braking zone, brake just after the 100-meter board, down to second gear. He tucks the nose in really nicely, but runs really wide on the exit, gets away with it though. And now down to the tricky braking zone of turn 2. You want to try and hug the inside as much as you can. The car always wants to drift out to the outside, and there's cars everywhere on the outside, but Victor manages to negotiate them nicely. We'll be coming up to the first sector split here, so that is a 29.8, so it will be interesting to see. It is the benchmark so far. It comes now round this long right-hander towards the chicane. It's a tricky braking zone this. You want to make sure that you don't ride too much curb. Victor deals with it nicely. Now through turn 9, or turn 8, 9 and 10, so through 10 here it's tricky because you really want to get onto the full throttle but you can't. 11 tricky braking but keeps it nicely inside track limits there. Maybe not wanting to push too early in this session. Down into 12 now, this long tricky braking zone of 13. Catching the back of the McLaren here is the McLaren starting their lap, so Eric does get out of the way, but maybe squeezing Victor, and Victor spun. That's not what you want to see with the drivers having to start their laps. We'll have to see how that transpires. So now at the moment then, so looking to see what other drivers are on lap at the moment. So currently Alfonso is the next driver who looks to be on a sort of competitive time at the moment. He's done a 30.1 for the first sector, about 3/10 down on what Victor was able to manage. We'll have to see how the rest of this lap progresses. It's coming down now into turn 12 again. Tricky sort of braking zone, but with these sort of cars, it is one of the easier corners, I would probably say, to hit the apex, but you just have to be careful that you don't extend too far on the exit there. As now we're going to be coming up to the line, so let's see where this will put him at the moment. So he does go faster, so 126.7. Other times we've had, so we've got Brian Harkman just come across the line with a 28.3 in second. Ethan Patel third at the moment on a 28.9. Gabriel De Vries on a 129.1. And Victor Diaz, as we saw, now been shuffled down to P6 on a 152.3. So Cole Cummins there on a 130.4. And Duncan McCormick on a 127.6. Peter Giordino, on a 128.1. So time's coming in sort of thick and fast, but I'm sure, as you can imagine, as the session goes on here, Phoenix, it's all going to be about how the track improves. I mean, we don't know if there's going to be any sort of track improvements, but as you can see, times do seem to be tumbling as Bronson goes to the top of the timesheet.
Oh yeah, definitely. Times are all over the place right now, and we have what looks like most likely Garrett, who's going to come out on full wets.
Interesting. Potentially then looking at a situation of maybe the rain increasing, or do you think it's a case of he's just eyeing up what tyre to go out on, because he hasn't yet left the pits, so...
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be he's eyeing up as he's actually coming out now on those full wets. So we'll see how those full wets compare to the intermediate tires.
Yeah, absolutely. So Alfonso is coming up to the line here. He has good sector times and goes fastest again. It's a 125.7 now for Alfonso. So again, time's improving. Most likely a lot of these cars have come out with sort of a heavy sort of tank of fuel just to get many laps in. As I'm sure for some of these drivers, it may be some of the first times they've experienced the wet on this year's game. We had dry in our pre-season race here at Spain and at Bahrain as well. So interesting to see how it does shake out. We haven't got much reference point at the moment, but looking like it's potentially still sort of sticking to script so far. What do you think, Phoenix?
Yeah, I think it's sticking to scripts as you said. The Alpines last week they did a phenomenal job at Bahrain, just keeping the pace, keeping it going. So we'll definitely hopefully see them transpire into tonight's race as well.
Yeah, as we have got Garrett out on the wet tyres here, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do. I mean, if I'm honest, it doesn't quite look like the track is wet enough for these tyres, but we'll have to see what he's going to do, because he is going to try and set a lap time on them here. So he's just coming up to start his lap. So we'll keep an eye on this. We'll ride on board here down to turn 1 and see how he manages to get to the tricky first braking zone. So he brakes just before the 100 metre board, so potentially showing that there really isn't much grip on these wet tyres here. And yeah, there we go. Spins round. I don't think these are the right tyres to be on right now. Maybe you can prove us differently.
Looking at this track, it definitely is not for a full wet tire. I bet you he came out to see what he could do if there was any potential with the full wet. But I think it's definitely going to be an intermediate tire like track to race on right now.
Yeah, it definitely looks very greasy, but at the moment, nothing crazy, as we've got Bronson who's just gone to the top of the timing sheets on a 125.6. So again, times are coming down as we go. All the drivers are pretty much setting multiple laps at the moment, but we have got a bit of a lull, as I'm guessing some people have come in to just change tyres, refuel, potentially go again for another couple of laps here. So it's just keeping an eye here, see if we've got anyone on a good lap right now. The only person at the moment improving is, well, there isn't actually anyone, unfortunately. We've got Victor, who has invalidated. He's just gone over the line, so maybe we'll keep an eye.
And it looks like one of the Ferraris is done for qualifying today.
Yeah, Josh Barnsley. It looks like he lost it coming out of turn 1 there. That would be bitterly disappointing. It means he's going to start from last place here today, so not able to get a good lap time in. So we'll have to see what that means for him now. we'll have to see. So we've got Victor at the moment coming up to the first time in split. So he has done pretty much matched his fastest time from earlier. So let's see how he manages through this tricky middle sector. He does run out wide there over the sausage curb. It's not where you want to be. Struggling through the chicane, really not getting any purchase from these front tyres. Maybe already the tyres starting to struggle with overheating. And we've got Duncan McCormick, our pre-season champion, out as well. It looks like he's lost it. He's coming out of the chicane. Oh, that's going to be bitterly disappointing for him. We have got Victor on the lap at the moment. He is going to improve, but it's not going to trouble the top of the timesheets right now. He's about 7/10 down on his best, so we'll just have to see what he can manage. He's going to come into the pits, so not happy. He wants to go potentially get another set of tyres, some more fuel, and go again. So we'll see.
Just to recap, after the Constructors' Championship from last week, we have Alpine with 43 points and McLaren with 20. So McLaren's got definitely some work to make up this week from last weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the moment, it is very much up in the air. Alfonso currently sitting in P2 at the moment, with his teammate Brian Sylvan yet to set a lap time. But similarly for the McLarens, Eric McKerney is P6, but Joel Gurin is yet to set a time himself. So we'll have to keep an eye on those, see what they do. We have got Joel on our lap at the moment, so we'll see how he is getting on. As Bronson improves again and goes fastest on a 125.4. But we have got.
It seems like the Aston Martins are pretty fast this weekend as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got Joel here coming through the final corner. He has set a personal best for the middle sector. Not his personal best for the first sector, but he does go P5 on a 126.4. So that's a little bit more representative of what we were hoping for the McLarens. But again, looking like there could potentially be a little bit of a gap here between sort of the ultimate pace and what Bronson here and Alfonso are doing, and sort of the rest of the field. But it is very, very tight in that mid pack, as you got from third down to 10th, separated just by 0.6 of a second at the moment. But we have,
especially if this rain keeps up for the next 6 minutes, and if it does not lighten up, all these teams will definitely have tire selection that they can pick from to start the race on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're running on board with Bronson right now, as he has gone purple in the first sector and he hasn't improved in the middle sector, so it'll be interesting to see if he does improve. But it looks like he's decided he's had enough and he's going to come in and change to a potentially new set of tyres, get some more fuel for the last 5 minutes of the session. We have got quite a few drivers at the moment struggling, I guess, to get a lap together. We've got a few people struggling to get a lap, but Joel's retired. Yeah, it looks like he lost it coming through that tricky turn 10. It's a little bit strange. It looks like the car is going, but it shows that he is out of the race. So he's pulled over to the side there. So very strange to see what happened there. But he is out of the race now. So we're going to go for a quick grid rundown. So at the moment, our current provisional pole sitter, Bronson Stafford on a 125.4, Alfonso Lewis P2, Sid Sagarth P3, Peter Gordino P4, Jack Pemberton Joel Gurin P5, Jack Pemberton's P6, Jack Fletcher P7, Brian Silver down in P8 at the moment, Eric McKerney in P9, Ethan Patel P10, Christophe Levant in P11, Gabriel De Vries P12, Duncan McCormick P13 at the moment, but he'll make no further part in qualifying. Cole Cummins P14 in the other Red Bull, 15th for Garrett Elder in the Williams, P16 for Brian Hackman. Alex Money, the reserve driver for today, standing in for Sol Goodman in P17. He's not a bad job for him, especially considering he is relatively new to this game and to this league especially, so he'll be happy not to be sort of at the bottom of the timing sheets at the moment, and hope that it can continue that way. P18 for Walter TF Desmond, and Victor Diaz at the moment P19, yet to set a time, so we'll have to see if he can get one in before the end of the session. And Josh Barnsley P20, as we said, did retire without setting a time. In that time we have had Peter Giordino go P3, So that's good. Both Aston Martins now first and third as Brian Silver's retired. He's lost it through that tricky turn four. Let's see if we can get any info on what happened there as he came through. I guess he just lost it and went into the wall there. That's going to be bitterly disappointing for him.
Yes, that'll be definitely devastating for the Alpine team right there. But the other person I want to give a hats off to is Alex Money. He ran that Division 2 race with everything he got, and now he's here in the Division 1 race giving it everything he's got as well, but this time in a Haas.
Yeah, absolutely is. He did take part in that Division 2 race earlier, so maybe. I mean, it was a dry race earlier, so different conditions than we are seeing here today. But maybe a little bit of experience from running a sort of race distance earlier on today. I believe he did retire during that race, so hopefully he'll be hoping to finish this race. Um, but it'll be interesting to keep track. Remember, reserve drivers do only score half points for the constructors' standings. So if he does manage to score any points today, Haas will only score half of whatever he is able to achieve. So that will be a little bit disappointing for Haas himself, especially if he does have a good performance. But we'll have to see how that does unfold as the race goes on today. So looking like we've got sort of 2 minutes left in quali here. So it has a little bit of a lull. I guess most people are sort of setting up for their laps. No one really setting the timing screens alight. We have got Bronson on a lap at the moment, who has done a 29.8 for the first sector, but not really able to beat his best. He's 4 tenths down already on his best time, so maybe taking a little bit for the tyres to come to you. Maybe the rain's increased in intensity a little bit as well. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone can improve, because at the moment no one is improving out there currently. So we'll just have a look. We have got, I mean, the big story to watch at the moment is Victor Diaz. He is on potentially on a lap right now. He has gone through the middle sector. He's only 2 tenths down on the best here, so this could be something that puts Victor right up there. We'll have to see how he manages to fare through this final sector now. Nicely hugs through the long turn 13 up to 14 here. It's a sort of double apex right-hander. Really tough for the drivers to get on the throttle, but here we go up to the line. So what's this time going to be? It's going to be a 1:26.1. That puts him P4. That's a little bit more like it for the AlphaTauri driver there. But as I say, at the moment, I can't see any improvements across the board. We have got Alfonso, who's just done a personal best for the first sector, but he is, unfortunately, as we cut to him there, has been off the track, so he'll have to try and wind it up and see if he's got enough time to go again. As we have got, it looks like Cole Cummings here has lost his front wing out of turn one. That's going to be bitterly disappointing. That's probably the end of his qualifying session at the moment then, with only 31 seconds left to remain in. To try and keep track of the action, Bronson has done the fastest of anyone in the middle sector, but he is still a little bit down. It's not the greatest first sector for him, but let's see if he can potentially keep these tyres going through this final sector, as he now does come up to the line. What's this going to be? So it's a 1:26.3, so not really anything to write home about right now, but we'll have to see how this does go. But yeah, I mean, at the moment, we have got Jack Fletcher, who has moved up to P5 there. So he has still got time to set another lap. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. But we have got people who have finished their qualifying sessions. So Alfonso Lewis only managed P2. He's going to be disappointed with that. Looking very strong coming into the event in our free practice sessions. He was fastest of all in free practice for this Division 1 race. Peter Gordino, P3. Eric McKinney can't improve, so that's P9 for him. P13 for Gabriel De Vries. P16 for Garrett Elder. And P18 for Alex Money. But at the moment, again, not really anyone really improving. Sid Cigars has gone through in a personal best first sector, but he hasn't improved in the middle sector. So what's this going to be for him? It's 5 tenths down. So do you think at the moment then, Phoenix, that potentially we are looking at the rain of increasing a little bit, just meaning that the drivers aren't really able to improve as much as they were in the middle of the session there?
Yeah, I believe the rain has been picking up a little bit here. So I was eager to probably see maybe one driver try to come out on a set of full wets just to see him, but none of them did. It looked like Garrett was going to come out on a set of full wets, but he never did.
Yeah, no, that looks like it is the end of our session. The only driver man left to on the track is Christophe Levant, but he unfortunately has no front wing, so he's definitely had an excursion somewhere. So this is going to be your qualifying grid. So we'll run it down one last time. So Bronson Stafford does take pole position here for the Reddit Grand Prix Division 1 race here at the Hungaroring. Alfonso Lewis joins him on the front row. Peter Gordino P3 or Giordino P3, Victor Diaz P4, Jack Fletcher in a strong P5, building off that podium that he got last time out at Bahrain. P6 for Sid Segar, P7 for Joel Gore, and he's going to be bitterly disappointed with crashing out in the qualifying session because I would have been interested to see if he could have improved. Jack Pemberton P8, Eric McKerney in the other McLaren P9, Brian Silver again another driver who's going to be bitterly disappointed, only managing P10 after finishing second last time out. Ethan Patel P11, Christophe Levant P12, Gabriel De Vries P13, Duncan McCormick P14 for our pre-season champion. He's going to be incredibly frustrated with himself at the moment, as behind him we have Cole Cummins in P15, Garrett Elder P16, Brian Hackman P17. However, he does have a 5-place grid penalty that you pick up in that session, so he will be starting last. Alex Money P18, Walter TF Desmond P19, and Josh Barnsley unable to set a time, but he will be allowed to start the race in P20. So Phoenix, as we now have a brief moment to breathe before we start this race here, it looks like it is going to be dry, so what are you going to be expecting in terms of strategy wise? Do you think we'll see anything interesting, especially with the free tyre choice?
Yeah, we'll definitely see a lot of people maybe try to go for the two stopper, but most likely you'll try to see them go for that one stopper from medium to hards. As we had in the Division 2 race, we had pretty much the back of the grid start on those medium tires, and it seemed to work out well for a lot of them. And they gained a lot of places from those soft tires because the softs here just get chewed up. So it's eager to see as we see pretty much everyone on the grid here on medium tires.
Yeah, absolutely. As we go run down, so we have medium tyres for everyone down to Eric McKerney, who's decided to start on the soft tyre. Brian Silver has done something different to almost everyone else. Only him and Cole Cummins are starting on the hards, and Duncan McCormick has also decided to start from P14 on those soft tyres. So very interesting. I guess a lot of um, sort of agreement. I guess the flexibility that those medium tyres do give you allows you to even potentially look to try and go, like you said, for that sort of two-stop strategy, or you can even try a one-stop with. I mean, we say, as you said, the hard tyre, or even try and really extend it to see if you can get the soft tyre later on in the race. So it'll be interesting to watch how that does unfold. Um, but yeah, it's just a case now of a little bit of a lull as all the drivers are just making sure that they've got the tyres in a nice window to get the best launch that they can. But it is going to be very interesting to see what we do have. I mean, we have got quite a spread out grid at the moment as Bronson is going through turn 11 while we still have some drivers just coming out of turn 8 and 9. Um, so it's going to be a little bit of a wait here. They've already driven this formation lap as quick as we can, and there we go. The AWS Insights agreeing with you there, Phoenix, that it is likely to be either a one or a two-stop race, depending on which tyre you do prefer, whether you prefer to run on that soft or the hard tyre later on in the race. So
Yeah, the two people I'm going to be looking at is going to be definitely Brian Silva and Cole Cummins as they're starting on the hard tires.
yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit of a different there, so it'll be interesting to see what they can do. I mean, the hard tyre is a very, very durable tyre. I mean, it is something that some of these drivers have been saying from the sort of sort of practice data that they are looking at almost being able to run the entire race on the set of hard tyres. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do. But we are now just a little bit of a lull as the lights now do come on. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights, and there's a little bit of a hold, and it's all lights out, and away we go. So straight away here, it looks like everyone has got off the grid cleanly. There's a little bit of bumping in the background there, but it is Victor Diaz leading with Jack. Oh, sorry, that is. Sorry, the timer screen here is very much ruined at the moment. There's a little bit of a glitch with this game. So it's Bronson Stafford leads, Alfonso Lewis second, Peter Giordino in P3. That should be Jack Fletcher in P4, Joel Gore in P5, Victor Diaz should be in P6, Eric McKerney P7. Sorry, it's a little bit hard to follow with exactly where everyone is. I'm just trying to use as much data as we can here, as we are sort of looking at them all getting away. I think the order has stabilised now, so there we go. So it is. So Bronson's got away at the start, Alfonso second, Peter Giordino P3, Jack Fletcher P4, Joel in P5, Victor P6, Eric P7, Sid P8 at the moment, Brian Silver in P9, Duncan up to P10 on those soft tyres, Jack Pemberton's had a little bit of a poor start, he's dropped down 3 positions to P11, Gabriel De Vries in P12, Ethan Patel P13, Christophe Levant P14, Garrett Elder P15, Walter TF Desmond P16, Brian Hackman and Cole Cummins trading positions there for P17 and P18, Alex Money P19 and Josh Barnsley. As we've had someone go off heavily into the wall there, I think. Nope. Okay, no, never mind. I think they did manage to catch that there, but it looks like it was Jack just behind as he is now dropping behind. Joel battle through turn 1. It does look like he got better traction out the corner, and does manage to protect the place. There's some heavy battling going on behind here, so interesting to see what does happen here. But looks like we are safe.
Josh in the pits and Alex Money, who's got spun around on the front stretch.
Yeah, as you say, Josh just coming out of the pits. He's gone, I think, back out on another set of those medium tyres. And Alex Money here running without a front wing. So it must have happened through that sort of last couple of corners, or he's been unable to make the pit lane there. That was going to be bitterly disappointing for him. But we'll have to get back to see what's happening here at the front. As I say, it looks like Bronson at the moment struggling to really break away. Maybe just potentially managing the gaps that he does have at the moment. But it looks like, as I say, it's been a fairly sort of good start, fairly clean start as well at the moment, as we do have pretty much all the drivers make it through the first lap unscathed, and on to lap 3 now. So as you can see, it looks like with DRS being enabled this lap, it is going to be a little bit of a DRS train for the drivers here, because no one's really been able to break that sort of 1 second window. It looks like, as I say, pretty much every driver down to sort of Duncan to Jack, that's pretty much would have DRS on each other. So there's going to be 2 big DRS trains emerging. However, DRS around here isn't the most powerful. It is definitely helpful, but you're going to have a pretty big advantage on the car ahead to make an overtake here. So, I mean, based off this start at the moment, Phoenix, I say, who at the moment have you got your eye on?
I definitely have my eye on those Aston Martins, as they're keeping a pretty good gap there in between, as we have what looks to be Duncan off.
Yeah, absolutely spun. So he's dropped back, I say, a few places, and now he's gone again. So struggling with I'm assuming these tyres overheating. They are so the tyres are so temperature sensitive. If you do overheat the tyres, as I say, it does become a real pain to try and get them back under control. As again, we've got Christoph out, who's had a spin himself there. He's dropped back behind Josh Barnsley. But as we look back to the front now, as they are following around with each other with DRS, it looks like, as I say, they are able to get really close, but it's going to be difficult to actually make an overtake around this track. So we'll have to just see how they do keeping those front tyres, because in the long runs, it has really been about whether or not you've been able to keep those front tyres from overheating. The front left especially is a tyre that if it overheats, you can find yourself losing sort of 1 to 2 seconds a lap. So it is very critical around here. So you might see some of the drivers potentially backing off a little bit more through some of the heavy stress corners. So things like turn 11 and turn 4, which can really stress the front tyres around here. So but it does look like they are all through cleanly. So the top 4 at the moment have been able to pull away. I think Joel has been defending pretty heavily from Victor behind. This is an interesting one to watch because he has run wide again. So Victor has got himself really nicely tucked up behind, with Eric just following behind that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some sort of overtake here, as Victor and Eric are going too wide through that final corner. Victor does come out though ahead, so DRS now activated for both cars. They both move to the inside, so as we sweep round the corner, Victor, it looks like he has managed to defend the place, but we'll have to see if he's able to keep hold of that down into turn 2, as they do tuck in, but nothing to really going to be doing here. So it looks like we are safe, but we have got another incident really far at the back for Christoph, who's been off. It looks like he has a little bit of spin. Fortunately, no damage though at the moment, as he is down in P19 and having a bit of a torrid race for both the Hasses at the moment. But we've got Brian Silver. Brian Silver's out of the race, and there's been a big melee behind. So Jack Fletcher's, yeah, safety car. So it looks like Jack Fletcher, Brian Silver, and I think there was another car. Was it? Unfortunately, I'm not able to confirm which other car I saw potentially having to take evasive action, but we have got a penalty there for Josh Barnsley speeding under the safety car as well. So there's a bit of a disappointing one. It's not really a penalty you want to see these drivers. They're some of the best on this year's game, so it's not really something you expect to see from these drivers. So we have now got a little bit of a breather. We do have Eric McKerney coming into the pits here, so he's decided he's going to get off those soft compound tyres. Do you think he might try and go to the end here, especially if he goes onto a set of hards? It is medium tyres, so potentially not looking to do that. However, he has got a 5-second hold there, so potentially for a indiscretion regarding the safety car as well. So he's going to drop pretty far back now as he comes out the pits, down, finding himself in P14. So he's going to have to drive a pretty good race from here, considering he's likely to have to make another stop. So it was a pretty short burst. The first safety car of the race. I mean, we saw from earlier's race, I think we had 5 safety cars in the Division 2 race. It was a very crazy race. Do you think that's something which, let's say, these drivers have seen what happened potentially in that earlier race with all the carnage that unfolded, and they're all at this stage thinking we need to make sure that we give ourselves the best chance of good track position, and make sure that we take advantage of any safety cars that may come potentially going further on into this race?
Yeah, definitely. And so that's the one thing. Definitely, these drivers were definitely, a lot of them have been watching the Division 2 race here on our YouTube channel. So they've been watching to see how we've all been racing, as well as we have Chris, who's now
Yeah,
DNF.
he's just crashed through turn 4, so that's a disappointing one. It looks like he's lost it over the curb. But as we're right on board with Josh, who's had a spin there. Yeah, potentially those cold, soft, hard tyres not up to temperature yet, but it is looking like a couple of the drivers here really struggling with this track. And like I said, it is one of those tracks where you have to be very precise. If you do find yourself in a situation where you miss the apex slightly, you can find yourself in a big problem. As we think we've had an incident for Brian there. Yeah, he has to come into the pits now. He's got no front wing, so I'm not sure what happened to him there, but that's going to be a bit disappointing. He's going to have to make another pit stop. He doesn't have another set of hard tyres, so it's not like he can pit and go on to another set of hards. He's going to have to go on to the mediums or the soft tyres here. So there you go. He's going to go on to the mediums.
Medium tyres.
Yeah. So potentially again, another driver is now going to have to make another stop. He was potentially hoping to go to the end, but after that incident there, he's now going to have to make another stop at least in this race. But as I say, after all that carnage, I think, as I say, we should give a quick rundown if you can there for us, Phoenix.
Yeah, so we've got Bronson here in the lead under the safety car, and behind him we have Alfonso, and then Peter, Then we've got Joel, Victor, and Jack. We got the two AlphaTaris behind each other, and then right behind them you've got Ethan, and then you got Gabriel, Garrett, then Sid, and then we've got Jack, Cole in the Red Bull, Walter, Desmond, Eric, Duncan, Alex, and then Brian rounds it out as it looks like Josh went out in coming out of turn 3.
Yeah, that's a very strange one there. Not sure what would have happened. I'm sure we will find out more
Oh,
after the race.
and
But
we have
oh,
both Ferraris out as Brian hits the wall.
yeah, very interesting. So we've got 4 cars out, and as the safety car is just coming in, so I'm not sure they were prepared for another incident behind the safety car. But we are going to get back to green flag racing, as Bronson does lead us away down that pit straight. So it's going to be all about potentially deploying all that battery, making sure that you're not going to lose any time down into turn 1. Able to get on the brakes nicely. We've got a bit of a melee looking like it's going to be in the back. There's Joel and Victor going too wide now down into that turn 2. So Victor's going to look to try and hang it around the outside. Can he make it stick? It looks like Joel's got the position, but Victor does get it on the switchback. So Victor has gained the place. He is up to P4. And Jack trying to go around the outside there. So Joel has managed to hold on to P5. So he only lost 1 position there. As we do see, it looks to be a case again where it's starting to spread out a little bit more now. It'll be interesting to see if everyone can stick within that DRS range, because it definitely is something that you want around this track. It helps you save that battery up and potentially get yourself into a good position where once the sort of pit stops happen, you can drive a good in and out lap and maybe sort of make the winning sort of strategy decisions. So it's going to be very interesting to see what does happen when we do get to those first pit stops. In terms of the first pit stops, so when are you expecting to see those at the moment?
Yeah, we'll definitely start seeing most of these front
Oh,
runners
it's Joel's
that are
off into
running
the
on the
wall.
same.
Sorry, he's
Oh,
lost it from P5. We just caught that there on the camera. That's going to be bitterly disappointing. It does promote everyone up, and it is a virtual safety car, and it is now a full safety car.
full
So
blown safety car.
yeah, absolutely. So again, these drivers, they've just got going. DRS was just about to be enabled again, and now they're back to safety car running. So it's gonna
I
all.
have some insight on what happened there with Brian Silva. It seems like the insight coming from his in-car radio was saying that the hards are just terrible. He took too much curb into turn 4 and just lost it there.
Yeah, it is definitely a tough corner. As I say, you have to make sure that you've got full confidence in the car, because you are effectively throwing it into a blind apex over the crest. So yeah, I can definitely see how that would happen. But we have got 5 drivers now at this race, 15 left remaining, and as I say, it is a case of once again for these drivers bringing everything back under control, fuel saving, tyre saving, making sure that they're able to extend in this race. And I'm sure for a lot of these guys on the medium tyres, it is an absolute miracle for some of them, because they're going to be able to extend longer. We have got a pit stop here coming from Peter Giordino from P3, so very interesting. Victor Diaz has followed him from behind, and Jack Pemberton, so double stack for AlphaTauri. Ethan Patel also coming in as well. So we've got a race in the pit lane here. We'll have to see how it does go
Jack and
down.
Eric are both in,
Yeah, so
along with Cole Cummins.
Peter does manage to get away nicely. Doesn't get hold by the other cars.
Sorry, double stack here for Red Bull too.
A double stack for Red Bull, yeah. So we've got a lot of drivers to choosing to switch tyres here. So it'll be interesting to see if that does work out. You do lose a lot of track position, so it is going to be imperative that these drivers are able to make moves quickly, because they do not want to be losing touch with the front of the field, because if the front are able to gain that time back that they effectively won through the free pit stop, then it's going to be a nightmare for them. But as I say, from everyone now, from sort of Peter down, you would imagine could potentially run to the end of this race.
Yeah, essentially, probably Duncan, Eric, and Cole will most likely have to make at least one more stop. And I'm thinking from Bronson on down to Walter, they'll probably come in between laps 16 and 22, as that is the timing that we've had on our boards for pit stops to go from the mediums on to the hards.
Yeah, it's a strange one because it is. I would probably say it's a little bit earlier than you'd want to go on to that hard tyre, but like you said, it's such a free pit stop because look at how much time we reckon it is around about sort of 22 seconds for a pit stop in normal green flag running. But at the moment, there is, like you say, you are able to get effectively a free pit stop. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens now. I mean, after the pit stops, we'll just give you a quick rundown of the grid as they come round, potentially onto the last lap of the safety car. I wouldn't be surprised if it does come in at the end of this lap. So we have Bronson Stafford, your race leader. He's led for every lap so far. Alfonso Lewis still in P2. Gabriel De Vries, the big winner at the moment, in P3. Garrett Elder P4. Sid Scar in P5, Jack Fletcher P6, Walter T.F. Desmond in P7, Alex Money, the reserve driver for Haas today, in P8, Peter Giordino, the first of the people we suspect won't pit again, in P9, Victor Diaz P10, Ethan Patel P11, Duncan McCormack P12. The safety car is going to be a blessing for him after those spins. P13 for Eric McKerney, P14 for Jack Pemberton, and P15 for Cole Cummins. So that is your grid rundown at the moment. So talk us through SA Phoenix in terms of behind the safety car at the moment. How would you approach it? Is it something where you want to make sure that you're, like you say, balancing the tyres evenly, or is it a case of making sure that you give yourself as much of a gap to the car in front in case there's any incidents behind the safety car?
Yeah, and that's what I would do. I would give a big enough gap, but also you definitely want to keep these guys here on the mediums definitely want to keep these tires heated up, because when they go back green,
Yeah.
those tires could end up going cold even before they get the green flag. So you want to keep these tires heated up, as we do have the safety car coming in this lap, and pretty much everyone's just weaving in and out, keeping them tires warm, and just trying to keep as much heat in them, so when they go back green, they can get a good enough launch and try to potentially keep these guys on hard tires behind them.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is going to be interesting. So Bronson Stafford will lead us away. So the safety car line is just by the pit exit. So he bolts way before it, and leads us through the final corner. So he looks like he's got a pretty decent start. Alfonso not really able to get right up behind him, but not didn't lose too much ground. So it'll be interesting to see. It is a case of really just trying to stay close to that DRS zone in the hope that you can get DRS to aid in the pass, because outside of with DRS it is pretty difficult to actually make a pass stick around here. So as we do see, uh, there is a 3-second time penalty picked up there by Alex Money in the Haas car. So it'll be interesting to see how that does impact the race. But at the moment, again, not really much change off the start. A couple of drivers really close, as Peter Giordino really putting Alex Money under pressure here, potentially forcing him into his mistakes. So let's try and see what happens here as he gets a really good exit out of the corner. But this isn't really a good overtaking spot. It'll be interesting to see if he does try and make it stick. He's definitely looking. I don't think there's much of a move, but we have had Duncan off in the background. There's having to really get out of the corner there. Definitely showing the difference between the speed between this Haas car and the Aston Martin at the moment. Alex Money a little bit wide again, but keeping it pretty much in the middle of the road. So difficult to overtake a car when they are in the middle of the road. As we are now going to come through this last corner, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see an overtake here down the pit straight. So here we go. No DRS enabled yet. However, there is a slipstream, so Peter Giordino does look to the inside. And we've got Victor Diaz behind him also looking, and there's 2 cars go past, 3 cars go past Alex Money. He's lost 3 places in one corner. And it looks like, as I say, in the background there, we have got Jack round. Oh, and he's had an incident with Cole Cummins. That's caused damage definitely to the front of Jack's car. I'm not sure if Cole has sustained any front wing damage. It looks like he may have gotten away with it. No, he has definitely picked up front right wing damage there, so that's very disappointing for both of those, as Jack now drops to the back of the grid, and Duncan probably going to look to try and make a pass on his teammate here, and it looks like Cole doesn't make it too difficult for him, but they're definitely going to have to both pit again at the back here, so we'll follow the move for the lead here. So again, DRS should be enabled at the beginning of this lap, so we should see one more time round before we start to see any sort of real moves as we follow on board there. So yeah, there you go, DRS is now enabled, so it won't be enabled for this first two corners, as you don't get the DRS detection point is actually on the turn in for turn 13 with the safety car line, so there is only one detection point here despite the two DRS zones, as Jack Pemberton's unfortunately picked up himself for 5-second penalties speeding in the pit lane. But it looks like the grid at the moment is beginning to really sort of stretch out a little bit there. It would be interesting to see if any of those hard tyre runners that did pit earlier on can start to regain some of that time they did lose having to overtake Alex Money in that Haas car. It looks like we've had an incident there for Jack Fletcher. Let's see what's happened to him. Potentially just a spin. I don't see any visible damage on the car. Yeah, it looks like he's just had a spin at the moment, but we've got to move behind it there as Duncan makes a switchback work at the chicane. Very nice move there from the pre-season champion. Be interesting to see if he can make any headway. He had a pretty disastrous early start to this race, so it'll be interesting to see if he can really make that back at the moment. But now as we'll cut back to the lead and see whether or not Alfonso can make any headway into Bronson's lead. It looks like at the moment, even with that DRS enabled, not really able to make much headway. It's definitely able to close up, but closing up is one thing, passing is absolutely another. So yeah, it looks like we are, unless we see a mistake here, we are pretty much sort of set in here to see what happens in the pit stop phase. It'll be interesting to see if which of these drivers looks to try and see if they can get potentially an undercut, as we've got Bronson running a little bit wide there. It might interest Alfonso, maybe seeing Bronson starting to struggle, especially with that front right tyre, which is very crucial through the high speed turn 4. But at the moment he's just tucked right under his wing. It'll be very, very interesting to see if he can stay this close, because it's through this tricky middle sector where you are more likely to drop back, and if you do drop back, it makes that DRS pass incredibly difficult. And we've got some more moves in the back, as we've got Duncan making a move for P10. But let's have a look. So yeah, it looks to me like potentially Alfonso struggling to stay close, especially through that last sector. He's dropping about 2/10 through there, so maybe starting to struggle to follow. What do you think there, Phoenix, at the moment?
Yeah, he's definitely probably heating up that right front tire, so for him it's going to be a lot harder. He's going to start losing some grip level here, as Alfonso's definitely catching him with that DRS, and not far behind him is Gabriel. So
Yeah,
that's a big eye point outer to watch, is to see if the Alpine has been saving tires enough to the point where he can stay this far back, but essentially, hopefully, when we come back to the straightaway, he can just overtake him. As Jack Pemberton is fastest on track right now.
yeah, so he's made that pit stop, come back out on a set of medium tyres. He also just picked himself up a 3-second time penalty. Ooh, but that is very interesting. Alfonso Lewis has picked up a 3-second time penalty. Looks like he may have picked it up through that sort of turn 11 there, potentially running a little bit too wide on the exit. So we'll have to keep a track on, see whether that has any impact on this race. But definitely at the moment, the front two are beginning to sort of streak away a little bit. Gabriel De Vries at the moment driving a really strong race in P3. At the moment, it'll be interesting because when he makes a pit stop, it's going to be about whether or not he can gain that time back that a lot of these drivers gained by being able to make their first pit stop under the safety car. So I wouldn't be surprised if at the moment, when you look at the pit stops, you're looking at people like Bronson, Alfonso, Gabriel, Garrett, they might all come out around sort of P12, P13. That's just how close at the moment the field is due to the safety cars and how the field hasn't really had a chance to really stretch out as you would normally see. But at the moment, as I say, we are in a little bit of a lull, so I'm just looking to see what other close on-track battles. We do have Duncan who's closed right up to the back of Ethan, so it'll be interesting to see if there's any headway that can be made here. So we'll ride on board with our pre-season champion here through turn 10 and then turn 11, so he's running a little bit wide but able to keep it within the white lines. Down through turn 12. So this is all about setting yourself up for the best exit coming off the final corner here. He's getting a decent drive. Ethan's struggling already potentially with those rear tyres. They are on the same age tyre, but with those hards, they don't heat up as well. Duncan really using all of the track on the exit there. That's not going to have really gained him anything. He's only going to really lose time by using that kind of line. So down to turn 1, but nothing really able to be made on there on the brakes. So it looks like at the moment we are pretty much just settling in with sort of two close on-track battles, being one for the lead here between Bronson Stafford and Alfonso Lewis, and seeing whether or not Duncan can make any progress back through the pack as he's currently stuck behind Ethan Patel at the moment. So Phoenix, for you at the moment, I mean, what lap do you think we're going to see these medium tyre runners in?
Yeah, we'll definitely see them between now and most likely lap 22 is when we'll see them start coming in for pit stops. So my eye is to watch these leaders, see if they stay out longer and keep them out, as both Bronson and Alfonso stay out this lap.
Yeah,
So it's too hard to call to see what everyone's gonna end up trying to do here.
Yeah,
for tire age.
It'll be very interesting because we've got sort of two battles at the moment, which could end up being either of them could either end up being battles for the race win. We've got Peter Giordino making his way through on those hard tyres, 8-lap-old hard tyres, up into P5 with Victor Diaz just close behind. And we've got Bronson and Alfonso, so it will really depend on how quick Bronson and Alfonso are when they do make that pit stop. If it was you at the moment, do you think what sort of gap do you think they will need to be able to really sort of safely come into the pits? Because if you look at the moment, I mean, then the two leaders would potentially drop out down in sort of P11, just behind sort of Jack Fletcher at the moment. And do you think that is a attainable gap if they have to make? You're looking at potentially sort of 5-6 passes for the win.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, that's pretty much what they would have to do. They'd have to get a bigger gap than 5 seconds as they're in front of Gabriel. You need at least, I believe, a 10 or 11-second gap just to pull off a pit stop here. But even if they come out behind Jack, if Jack pits at the exact same time as they do, but even then, you still have them on fresh hard, so they could end up coming through the field faster than we would think.
Yeah, as we see Victor there make a move on Sid for P6, so that could be crucial, especially if he can catch back up to Peter Giordino there and see whether or not he can compete potentially for the race win. Because at the moment, and like I said, it's between these four drivers, between Bronson Stafford, Alfonso Lewis, Peter Giordino and Victor Diaz, and it's really going to depend on the pace that Bronson and Alfonso are able to put in when they do make that stop. It looks like they are really trying to extend, potentially trying to extend all the way to get to soft tyres. I mean, I wouldn't see any point at the moment in coming in and putting on a set of the hard tyres, because they've already run more of the race than they would do on the hard tyre. So do you think that's what they're potentially looking to do up front, is try and see if they can get to the softs?
Yeah, most likely they're gonna either try to go for the softs, or they could end up going for those hards. Well, again, it's all depending on how much they've saved of those tires for during those safety cars. So it seems like they've saved a lot of the tires, Bronson and Alfonso, during those safety cars to continue out on these mediums.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, those two safety cars would be, like I said, almost relieving sort of 6 laps worth of stress from these tyres. So rather than looking at it as 20-lap old mediums, they're effectively 14 racing laps. So that's be interesting. We do have a pit stop. We have got Alex Money in from P13. Looks like he's going to get off those hard tyres. There are only 16 laps for him on the hards. Maybe looking to try and go to mediums and then to the end, as I don't think the soft tyre will make it from here, as we had a new fastest lap of the race from Jack Pemberton there. There's a 1:17.848. That's Alfonso's retired. What happened
Alfonso's out.
there? Oh no, he's crashed through that dreaded turn. It's turn 8, isn't it? So I'm not sure what would happen there. I'm
Yeah.
guessing he's lost it on the rear tyres. It is a safety car, so I suspect we will see Bronson in, and Gabriel and Garrett all into the pits. But what
Yeah,
tyre will
it'll
they go onto?
definitely. I bet you all of these guys on medium tires are definitely going to be pitting as we see Bronson pitting right now.
But do you think it's potentially a little bit too early for the softs, or do you think they can make it stick from here?
Possibly, but as we see, Bronson is going on those hard tires as I expected.
Yeah.
So he's definitely going to go on those hard tires and come back through as Sid and Eric and Duncan are all in the pits,
Yeah.
essentially going for the hard tires here.
I noticed that we have got Eric actually going to the soft tyre, and Sid has gone to the hard tyre there. So Duncan's also come in. He's decided that he wants a set of the softs. So it's going to be very interesting because the soft tyres, I mean, Pirelli's sort of recommended is 9 laps. So they're looking to take this longer than sort of the recommended lifespan. I mean, from speaking to a lot of the drivers, they said some of them were able to take the tyres as long as 15 laps, and they said in some of their race simulations. But I would really be surprised if they're able to make it to the end on these tyres, especially at a quick pace, because they'll be fast out the blocks. These soft tyres, once you put them on, they feel absolutely amazing. They give you upwards of sort of 1.5 seconds of lap time compared to even just a fresh set of medium tyres. So they're certainly going to be fast tyres, but the question is, are they going to be in a drivable state to make it to the end?
Yeah, it'll definitely be hard for these guys with soft tires, especially. I bet if we have a couple more safety cars here, they could probably hold off these soft tires. But the people I'm definitely going to be watching now is going to definitely be Sid and Bronson, as they're on those fresh hards, and Peter and Victor and Ethan are all on 11 old tires of their hards. So Gabriel doesn't come in, but it looks like Garrett's going to come in and possibly grab those hard tires as he almost spins out in pit lane.
Yeah, maybe he's thinking that there's no point taking these tyres longer than he needs to. He's not going to get sort of a better chance really than now, but maybe a lap too late. Maybe he should have come in the lap earlier. He's going to drop a couple
Sorry,
more
no, he's
positions.
actually going to go on those he's going to go for the soft tires here.
Very interesting. Maybe seeing the other drivers around him go on the softs and thinking, yeah, absolutely, that's what we need to do here. We need to match these guys and see if they're able to come through. But very interestingly then, so Gabriel De Vries is our new race leader. It's the first lap he's led all season, but he has yet to stop. The only driver yet to stop in this race, as we have Peter Giordino P2, Victor Diaz P3, Bronson Stafford P4, Ethan Patel P5, Sid Segar P6, Eric McKerney P7, Duncan McCormack P8. But Jack Pemberton P9 does have that time penalty from earlier on. Jack Fletcher also with a time penalty in P10. 11th place, a very quiet drive today for Walter TF Desmond, but he's on a fresh set of softs, so it'll be interesting to see if he can make any headway towards the end of this race. Alex Money, P12 at the moment, Garrett Elder P13, and Cole Cummins P14, and he again has made a stop. I did see that he was off at turn 1, so I'm not sure what happened there, but he has decided to go again, get another set of those soft tyres, so be interested to see. I mean, I suspect we may see the safety car look to come in at the end of this lap. We should get the notification around about here if the safety car is coming in. It looks like we will drive another lap under the safety car. So if you had to pick from here at the moment then, Phoenix, I mean, who's your pick for this race win at the moment?
It's definitely going to be a hard one. Both the S and mines today have been pretty fast. So I'm like I said earlier, I'm definitely keeping my eye on here on Bronson as he's on those fresh hards to see if he can get past Victor and Peter and essentially Gabriel, who will end up having to pit and drop back a couple places.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we have got a weird, a sort of strange situation here because Bronson in P4 on on very fresh, hard compound tyres. So he's gone a little bit safer, maybe realising that, hey, there's only 2 cars ahead of me. They both have 12 laps on their hard tyres. So if I'm able to get these fired up, maybe I can make those moves quickly and have a shot at winning this race. And then you've got the Peter Giordino there, the other Aston Martin, who at the moment has track position. He's the first person on the road who doesn't have to pit, so it'll be very interesting to see. But a very weird, strange strategy from Gabriel De Vries at the moment. So he is the effective race leader. However, he still hasn't stopped yet. So, I mean, when do you think he will stop?
If I were him, if the safety car does not come in this lap, I would pit and get those hard tires now.
It'd be interesting. I mean, I think the safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap, so I'm not sure that would be the best call at the moment. So he's probably hoping for a little bit, maybe out there trying to just make sure that he gets a little bit of airtime. Maybe looking to try and see if he can maybe benefit from carnage behind. I mean, if there's any incident between people like Bronson, Victor, that does cause potentially any sort of major incident, maybe Gabriel can get a little bit of a lead, get another safety car, and then be able to pit and come out a little bit further up the field. But it is going to be very interesting to
Yeah,
see.
we
So
definitely have the safety car coming in this lap.
yeah, absolutely. So Gabriel is back in the field up now. So a reminder, it is through the safety car 1 line, which is basically the line for the pit entry. There is a little bit of a line on the corner here coming up. You can just about see it on the road. So here he goes. He drives right up to the line, and they are racing now. I'm not sure if Gabriel is quite aware. Maybe, okay, maybe.
Definitely seemed like Gabriel was trying to catch the Aston Martins here off guard.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He drove it very, very late. So it is a case of Bronson's already made 2 positions up there. He's already up into P2. So great restart for him. Maybe being alert to when the safety car is ended. Basically means that he's able to get a good tow down that pit straight. So it's going to be interesting now to see. In the background there, we've got Duncan up a place. He's up to P7 now at the moment. So Gabriel, though, is managing to pull out a little bit of a gap. I mean, Bronson had to make those overtakes, so it'll be interesting to see if anything happens. But we have got a yellow flag. It looks like it's just for Jack Fletcher running a little bit wide there, but he is fine. Oh, he is missing a front wing, actually. So I'm not sure what happened there, but he is without his front wing. He's dropped all the way to the back of the pack there. Not ideal there for Mercedes, as I say. He was on the podium
Oh,
last time out, but we've had another
look,
incident.
Sid spun around.
Yeah, he's on the track. He's facing. Ooh, it is safely rejoins though. But as we look to the front now, as Bronson has closed up to Gabriel, so interesting to see no DRS available on this lap. But will Bronson be able to make a move down into turn 1? Gabriel already going defensive here down to turn 1. As he drives to the inside, Bronson looks to the outside, maybe trying to look for the switchback. He does drive. Basically, look at that superior track. He drives right up to the inside. Now Gabriel's going to drive right to the outside of the road, but does leave space. Fair racing, and Bronson does retake the lead as Gabriel unfortunately does go a little bit wide there off track. So Bronson now our effective race leader, and like I say, very interesting to see. Eric in the background is all the way closed up to the back of Peter. Is already going down the inside here into the chicane. Can he make it stick? Looks like they might have. Ooh, he might have just backed out of it there. Maybe thinking better of it rather than to potentially have an incident with 9 laps to go. But at the moment, everything is pretty much still up in the air. I mean, these guys on the soft tyres at the moment really showing how racy they are on these tyres. There's Eric again looking for another potential move here on Peter. He's really close to the back of him. Duncan's following Eric through at the moment as well. So we'll have to see what happens here. No DRS again. DRS has been enabled, but it won't be enabled until the end of this lap. So down towards turn 1, is Eric going to look to try and make a move? He does poke his nose down the inside, but doesn't actually attempt a late braking move there. As we've got a safety car, Cole Cummins is out of the race again. Wow, so we have got another retirement. We've got 7 drivers who are out of this race. And it looks like it was through that final corner where unfortunately Cole has had the crash, so I'm sure we'll find out more about that later, but at the moment, again, it gives a chance for the field to bunch back up, and like you say, do you think now, if you're Gabriel, I mean he's P2 at the moment, but is this his best chance now to get that pit stop done?
Yeah, so Gabriel's best bet right now is to pit and go for those softs. Get those soft tires. You only have 8 laps left, so you can stretch the tires here with 8 laps left.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'd be on the freshest tyres of anyone, so it'd be making very racy towards the end of this race, but it'll be interesting to see. It looks like he is coming in as Bronson also pits from the race lead, maybe seeing some of the pace of those soft compound runners. Peter is also in from P4, so I think everyone who's looking at having a...
and it seems like Gabriel got a 5-second time penalty for speeding here in the pits.
Yeah, that's going to be very disappointing.
Both Bronson, Gabriel, and I believe Peter are all going to go for the soft tires here.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got another driver into the pits as well. We've got Victor Diaz coming in to get off those hard tyres onto softs, and Alex Money from P10. He's come in and he's going to put on a set of medium tyres. So that's a little bit different. Maybe preferring those medium tyres, the balance on those tyres a bit more to the softs. But again, we've got a very different order at the moment. We've got Eric McKerney in the lead on soft compound tyres. Duncan McCormack P2, Jack Pemberton P3, the first driver on medium tyres. There's only 2 drivers on medium, so it's going to be interesting to see how far he drops back or if he's able to hold position. Garrett Elder in P4, and Walter TF Desmond finds himself all the way up in P5 right now, and he's going to be very happy with that. I know, as I say, the Williams team here come into this weekend without much expectations. They're a team which always look to try and make sure they finish, and like you say, when you have crazy races like this, it just shows that finishing is more important than necessarily having the outright pace around this track. But as we'll run down the rest of the grid, so we've got 6th place at Ethan Patel, Bronson Stafford P7. He's going to be very interesting to watch. First on those new compound soft tyres. Gabriel De Vries P8, however he does have a 5-second penalty which will be added onto his race time. P9 for Peter Giordino, P10 for Victor Diaz, 11th Alex Money, the reserve driver for Haas, Sitsuga P12, and Jack Fletcher rounds out the back of the grid in P13. So, I mean, again, a moment to pause and take a breath. I mean, it's going to be basically a sort of a 4 to 5 lap sprint at the end of this race. So, if you were looking at it right now, I mean, is there really much that people like Jack and Ethan can do on those really old medium and hard compound tyres?
Yeah, Eric and Duncan, I think if they get a good enough start, they could end up pulling away from Jack. But if they don't get a good enough start, Jack could end up coming in on those medium tires and taking over, and essentially, most likely, potentially go for a win here after he crashed out on lap 1 last week at Bahrain.
Yeah, well, like you say, he crashed out on the opening lap. I mean, he was hoping to really sort of make amends for that. I mean, at the moment running in P3, so it'll be interesting to see if he can hold any positions. But I'm going to say it's going to be very, very tough. I mean, there are some very, very quick drivers behind on much fresher, much softer tyres, and I really think at the moment this race is impossible to call. We've seen so much action, we've seen so many incidents at the moment, so it is really going to be a case of just hoping that we get to the end of this race. There's going to be 5 laps once the safety car's gone in, and Eric leads us around the final corner. So it's going to be basically a sprint race ready from here to see what these drivers can do. But we shouldn't have any more pit stops, I won't imagine. But we are now going to see. So Eric does lead us away now. So through this final corner, looking to try and get as good an exit as possible. However, he's got a little bit squirrely on the exit, and Duncan is right under that rear wing. So it's going to be interesting to see how close he can get. Not really closing up though down the straight, but Jack looks sort of jinks to the inside a little bit, but doesn't make anything here. So they come down now towards turn 2, very much in sort of formation. We've had a little bit of a move towards the back as Victor and Peter Giordino are going at it. Peter going round the outside, but he's gone onto the grass there and has lost out, so he's down to P10. As Bronson just ahead is side by side with Ethan. He goes right up over that curb and round the outside, and what a move that was through turn 4. So that's Bronson up into P6 now, and Gabriel looking to try and follow him through. It'll be interesting to see if he can make the move stick on Ethan quickly. Bronson's already dispatched of Walter TF Desmond already, so up a couple of places, but Gabriel's out of the race. He's had a moment there through, that will be turn 9, and unfortunately is out of the race.
Another safety car.
Yeah, another safety car. I think it was it, I can see Peter Giordino has dropped to the back. I wonder if he was involved in any of that at all, but
yeah, it looks like he was involved as he has no front wing
yes, it was a good spot, so he is going to have to come in. We have got Jack Fletcher as well deciding to come in and get a new set of tyres, so that's very interesting. But again, the race is neutralised, so now it goes from a 5-lap sprint to we might only see 1 or 2 laps here at the end of this race. So I'll just quickly run you through the grid then as we do get back under the safety car. So it's Eric McKerney in P1, Duncan McCamick P2, Jack Pemberton after DNFing in Bahrain in P3, Garrett Elder P4, Bronson Stafford, he's going to be incredibly frustrated, he's down in P5 at the moment, Walter TF Desmond P6, Ethan Patel P7, not still on those hard compound tyres, Victor Diaz P8, Sid Segar P9, Alex Money P10, Jack Fletcher 11th, and Peter Giordino P12 after that incident they had there, we think, with Gabriel De Vries, has put him unfortunately out of the race. So again, I'm pretty much speechless at this point. We are having another sort of break in the action as they do get the debris cleaned up, but at the moment, who would you say is sort of the big winner from this safety car? I apologise. Oh, okay, are you there, Phoenix?
Sorry, yeah.
That's okay. I was just asking for your sort of big winner and potential losers from this safety car here, as it will lead us down to the sort of final laps of this race.
Yeah. So, like I said before, if both Eric and Duncan get away good, there's a slight chance that both those guys will come out on podium along with Jack.
Yeah.
But as we saw, Bronson was making battling moves to get back up there to the front and essentially try to regain that lead and win the race that he's been leading all this time, as we're probably going to have a 2-lap shootout here.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be interesting. I mean, we do have to remember that we have got time penalties at the moment for Jack Pemberton and Garrett Elder. So provisionally, at the moment, if things were to end as they stand right now, the podium would be Eric McKerney, Duncan McCamick, and Bronson Stafford. So we'll have to see what happens. I mean, like you said, 2 laps. We've seen safety cars pretty much after safety cars at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see if we can get through these last 2 laps without any more incidents. But like you said, there could be chaos that happens in these last couple of laps, as I'm sure every driver right now is going to be fighting for those valuable points, not wanting to give up an inch on their competitors.
Yeah, and it's looking like Jack is definitely going to need to get a big enough gap, as I don't even know if he served his 5-second time penalty from speeding in the pit lanes, but he also got a 3-second time penalty. So altogether, that's an 8-second time penalty compared to
So
Eric, who was only 3 seconds.
as we look at it there, you can see Jack Pemberton does have 8 seconds of penalties. Garrett Elder with 3, so it is still all up in the air. Like I say, if anyone does pick up a penalty in these last, so we're going to have a 3-lap shootout as the safety car is in at the end of this lap here, but we are going to have to see how this does unfold now, as we're going to come now into the final couple of corners. I'm very interested to see where Eric goes. So he left it to about midway through the last corner last time. Let's see if he goes at the same point or if he's going to go differently here. So he's going to drive pretty much flat out through that final corner. And again, he leads us away now. So 3 laps now to the end of the race as Eric McCann leads the Reddit Grand Prix, Hungarian Grand Prix here for Division 1. And it looks like we've got through turn 1 fairly safely, but we've already, Bronson's out of this race. It looked like he went for a move on Garrett there at the back, and he's unfortunately now crashed. I'm not sure what happened there, but he's going to be, it's going to be incredibly disappointed. I mean, both are pre-race favourites at the moment. All Alpine drivers out of this race. Bronson out of this race, and Peter Giordino only in P11 right now behind Alex Money. So that's going to be a big upset. So, I mean, as it looks like at the moment, it's between Eric.
Either Ethan or Victor or even Garrett could end up in that 3rd place position, as again, Jack has that 8-second time penalty.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be a key. So Ethan and Victor are the ones who need to stay at least within 3 seconds of Garrett. So Victor has made the move there on Ethan. Ethan probably pretty defenseless on those pretty old hard compound tyres. Now Victor just needs to make sure that he's within 3 seconds. So he doesn't have to make the pass to finish on the podium at the moment, provisionally. So that'll be interesting to see. But as we lead down the pit straight, so again, no DRS. We're only going to have DRS for the final lap of this race, as Eric McKerney leads with Duncan McCormick P2. Eric currently with the fastest lap of the race as well. Peter Giordino is up a couple of places now. He's up to P7, as Walter T.F. Desmond is in the pits without a front wing as well. So that's incredibly disappointing for him. But as we can see at the moment, we've got another yellow flag, as it looks like Ethan has spun. Ethan has spun there.
Yes, Ethan has spun.
That's heartbreaking for him. He was going really long on that set of tyres, and now he's dropped all the way back to the P10. He should still finish in the points as long as he doesn't have any damage there. But at the moment, Victor Diaz all over the back of Garrett Elder here for that final podium spot. So he doesn't need to make the pass. He just needs to finish P5 here to finish on the podium. I'm not so sure that even if he was to make the pass, he'd be able to catch the 2 leaders, as we're only coming onto the final lap now. So it's going to be very interesting to see. So again, no DRS. So basically, we are going to run this entire last 3 lap stint without DRS, because DRS is enabled now. However, the drivers don't get to use it until the next lap. So we'll have to see if Duncan can make anything do. Peter Giordino picks up the fastest lap on a 1:15.9, so he's going to be picking up an extra point for Aston Martin to help recover. But here we go, coming down into that final lap. We've got Duncan going round the outside of Eric. Eric leaves him the space as Duncan now gets squeezed a little bit, pushes Eric onto the grass. They're coming up too wide up to turn 4 here, and Duncan has made the move. He's made the move for the lead here.
Amazing work there done by Duncan to get around Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like Jack's had a little bit of a moment in the background. He's lost 2 places, so he's going to finish P5 now. And he will also lose P6 because of the penalties, but he should hopefully still finish ahead of Jack Fletcher in P6. So at the moment, though, it looks like It is going to be Duncan McCormick, our pre-season champion, with only a couple of corners to go here, who looks like he may finish.
Alex Money looks like he went off.
Yeah, he's had a moment back there, but he should still finish P9. So he comes round the final corner now. So it is going to be Duncan McCormick who's going to win here in Hungary. Eric McKerney comes home P2, and it's going to be Victor Diaz on the podium provisionally, as Garrett Elder does have a 3-second time penalty for track limits. Peter Giordino manages to come home P4, as Garrett Elder P5, Jack Pemberton P6. Now, just as we'll count them home, so Jack Fletcher comes home, he's going to be P8 with the penalty. Sid Cigar gets P7. And Alex Money now is going to lose that final point due to the or one extra point due to the penalty, so he's going to finish P10 as Ethan Patel does make the move on track. So 9th for Ethan Patel, 10 for Alex Money, which means it will only be half a point for the Haas team, as all reserve points are halved for the respective constructor. And Walter Desmond here is going to come round to finish. He's going to be unlucky to have picked up damage in that final stages. But wow, what a race there, Phoenix. If you had to ask, I mean, at the moment we're going to find out who's driver of the day. It was given to Duncan McCormick. Do you think that's right? Do you think it was Duncan?
Definitely Duncan, yeah. He came from the back of the grid, essentially, after DNFing here in qualifying. And for him to come back to win this race, a phenomenal job here by Duncan.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was an amazing job for Duncan. So it is. Hopefully we will be able to get podium interviews with the top 3 there. So we'll get interviews with Duncan, with Eric, and with Victor as well, hopefully there. As we'll see if we can nab them for a moment. But here's your quick race rundown. So maximum points there for Duncan McCormick, Eric McKerney P2, Victor Diaz P3 for Alpha Tauri, P4 for Peter Giordino. Going to be disappointed. I mean, he was looked on for the race win at one point, but P4 is all he can manage with the fastest lap. P5 for Garrett Elder, P6 Jack Pemberton, losing a couple of places due to those penalties. P7 Sid Cigar, Jack Fletcher P8, P9 for Ethan Patel. 10th for Alex Money on debut in Division 1 here, P11 for Walter TF, and the non-finishers were Bronson Stafford, Gabriel De Vries, Cole Cummins, Alfonso Lewis, Joel Goran, Brian Hackman, Josh Barnsley, Christoph Levon, and Brian Silver. So we'll have to see if we can get the podium finishers in here now. So let's have a look and see what we can do for us. So we'll first off we'll speak to the race winner. Hi there, Duncan. So congratulations on that. It would look like an absolutely crazy and hectic race, but I guess at the moment you were the last one there at the line, really.
Yeah, dude, I don't know what to say. It took it took all the safety cars to make it happen, but yeah, I'm a loss for words, dude. I did not expect that with how poorly my race was at the start.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can imagine it wasn't how you were planning. I mean, at one point we saw you were last of everyone after a spin, so it's got to feel good to manage to come back and win, as I say, your first race of this season 1. You were a preseason champion. So how are you feeling right now?
Dude, I like it. How hard I had to work for that was like just insane. Like that's one of the best wins I've ever felt. Just off like, you know, I feel like I really worked hard like to get through the field back to it. Like I said, I know there's a ton of safety cars. I know I wasn't the fastest car on the track, but I had to work so hard to get through everyone, so it was tough.
Yeah, like you said, you might not have been the fastest today, but you certainly made the right decisions. And that move on Eric at the end there, that was a fabulous move to watch. And I'm sure, as I say, you won't be surprised to find that you were voted driver of the day. So congratulations on that one there.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
No worries. So we'll speak now to Eric, who is P2. So let's see if we can get him in here. So congratulations there, Eric, on your P2 today. Talk us through a little bit of sort of how the race unfolded from your point of view.
Well, kind of surprising, all the safety cars. I wasn't expecting that. So by the end of it, I had 7 laps of extra fuel. So I kept I don't know. Like I try to stay clean. That's really try to stay clean, and I knew if I did that, this is such a tricky track mentally and physically that people are going to make mistakes. So if I don't make mistakes, then you know it'll end up a good result because my qualifying didn't go very well. So you know,
Yeah, no, I understand. It was a case of, I think if I'm not mistaken, you qualified, was it P6?
P9,
P9, sorry,
P9.
my apologies.
Yeah.
So it was a case of, like you said, potentially benefiting a little bit from the safety cars, making a good strategy call there towards the end to go onto those soft tyres that potentially may have clinched it for you there.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Like I was thinking, okay, we got a safety car, so I can get a couple laps that are going to be pretty light on the wear.
Mm,
So then I could get, it's maybe going to be 10 laps of hard running on them, and they can probably last that long. But
yeah.
then we got another safety car, so they stayed good even longer. So it ended up working out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was a very crazy race. I mean, coming on
Yeah.
to sort of next weekend, we will be going to Silverstone. I mean, looking forward, how are you thinking you'll perform there? Do you think it will be a case of being competitive again, potentially looking for podiums, or?
Maybe. I mean, the preseason, I won that race. Um, but Jimsy almost like came from last to first and beat me. So it has never really been a strong track for me. So I was kind of surprised to win there, but I think I figured out some things there. So I think I could probably be competitive. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll definitely keep an eye out to see if you can, I say, build on this strong result. Unfortunate not to win today, but I say I'm sure you're still happy with
No,
second place.
yeah, of course. I probably should have let him pass before the last lap, and then I would have had DRS.
Yeah, no,
But
absolutely. Well, thank you very much. We'll now speak then to Victor Diaz, our third place finisher for us now. So, Victor, just to ask you, a little bit of a crazy race there. It looked like at one point you and Peter had pretty much odds on to win that race, but some late safety cars there potentially throwing a little bit of spanner in the works for you.
Yeah, I think it was the third or fourth that came out. It kind of ruined it. One of the other safety car starts. For me it was horrible. The hearts were just not working for me. So when that next safety car came out, I had to pit. There was no way I could restart. I'd be eaten up. So I thought maybe I could just rush through the field with the softs, but
Yeah.
it seemed like everybody else around me did the same. So I did what I could, and yeah, a good recovery to get a podium.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a case of um, some very high moments for you. As I say, it looks like you had really good pace, and throughout the race you were very competitive, but potentially a little bit disappointing just because with the high attrition rate and potentially some of your future championship rivals sort of DNFing from this race, was it potentially a little bit of solace just because you feel like you could have maybe got more from this race?
Yeah, it's definitely stung because I for sure thought there for a second that a win was on. And seeing everybody else DNF around me, it was a good opportunity to really get up in points and extend the lead here a little bit because I didn't get a good result last race.
Yeah.
So yeah, it stung a little bit, but I definitely pushed as hard as I could at the end to recover what I could.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just finally, then to ask you, as I say, we are going to Silverstone next week. What are you thinking going into that race? Do you think it is a track that, as I say, you and AlphaTauri will be competitive at, or is it something that you're worried about? Or
No, Silverstone has historically been a decent track for me, so I think maybe a top four is possible here. I can't really speak for my teammate. I don't know his strengths there, but yeah, for me personally, I feel like a top four is potential there.
absolutely. Well, it will definitely be interesting to see how you go there. So thank you very much for the interview then. But that will do it for us here today. So thank you very much everyone for tuning in here to the Reddit Grand Prix Division 1 race. I'm sure, as I say, you like us, enjoyed it absolutely. It was an incredible race really with all the drama. And we hope that you will join us again next week, starting at 1 a.m. British Summer Time, which is, I believe it is, no, correct me if I'm wrong, Phoenix is 8 a.m. or 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Is that correct?
we should be going live next weekend about 8 o'clock Eastern.
Houston,
8 o'clock p.m. Eastern
yeah,
for the start of the Division 2 race at Silverstone. So,
absolutely.
what are your thoughts going into Silverstone, actually?
I think it'll be a very interesting race. I mean, you've got a couple of people now with a redemption story to try and come through. So Alfonso after DNFing, Bronson with that late DNF when he looked potentially on to win the race. He's definitely going to want to see how he gets on next race. But I think, as I say, with 2 races down, we've had 2 incredible races, 2 very different races as well. And I think Silverstone will just be something else going forward. It's going to be a really interesting race to watch. So as I say, I really hope that you do tune in with us. But that has been myself. I'm going to say I'm Aaron Hill, and my compatriot here, Jacob Wiecenski, and we hope you